Today we have a very, very special guest in the building. This woman's story really touched me, and because of it, it was imperative for me to reach out to this amazing mother, author, writer for film and television. She's an online tech geek. Can you hear me? An all around multitask, just beautiful, highly intelligent woman. We give you none other than Miss Michelle Carvalho. Yay! Please introduce yourself to the people and tell everyone who you are, how it all began for you, and how you made it to where you sit today.
That's a loaded question. Hey, hey, y'all. I'm in here. I'm in here. Yeah. So I'm Michelle. I mean, you could ask me some more specific questions. I'm here. I'm here
Hold up,
because
hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up. What I forgot to say was, welcome to Detroit.
yeah.
Welcome to Detroit, everybody.
No intro today, guys. We got a very special guest. She took some time out of her day to come and have a conversation with us. She doesn't really do these conversations, so we're really blessed today. So all my moderators, I don't want anybody to disrespect my guest today. If you got a wrench by your name, use it. Please. Go ahead, lady.
So starting with a brief history on your childhood, you can have the floor however you feel comfortable.
Right. No, go ahead. You can ask whatever questions you want to ask. I'm here.
Okay, well then we can start with on January 13th, Ozone and myself, we did a video shedding some light on your story, which prompted a reply. So can you speak on what made you respond in that fashion, and can you elaborate on your comment, please?
Most definitely. Most definitely. Dang, I wish I could pull that comment up. Hold on. Let me just let me grab that comment. Hold up. I know you sent it to me. Like I just got through telling him. Hold up. I was impressed with the video. Right. You call me. I don't remember if I did that comment before or after you called me. Dang, where's that video? But I do know I was impressed because it's rare that I see a YouTuber or like an online creator that's dealing with like the street life that is willing to be honest about how he feels. So on this topic with abuse and being able to draw this line between Alpo and A in terms of, okay, we keep talking about Alpo and how he was like this or like that, but what about this dude? And so I guess you had done some research and found out, some of what I was expressing and claiming, and then the kind of the image that he's trying to project of himself. So I mean, you guys are not the first people to know about this, and you're not the first people to express anger and disdain about it. You're just the first people that I've seen to publicly do it. So for the most part,
Wow.
even on the celebrity level, like these people know, and the things that they say to me, they don't say on interviews. They don't, tell him, they don't hold him accountable. So it's not like I want to be mean or, have people cursing him out and stuff like that, because, that's not where I'm at spiritually. But I was just impressed that someone out there was able to really pick up on what it must have been like for me in that relationship. So, feeling a lot of gratitude for that. And that's why I gave the statement that I gave under the comment for this channel. So I wanted to be able to support this channel just for keeping it 100 like that. So if I figured if I write there, I mean, it's really me. They can go and find out that it's me. I sent in a picture to you today in your email that you can show me and A back when I was a kid with the baby. If you want to put that up at any time. So, you know, just so people can see that this is like the real deal. So I want to leave that message. You know, like I said, I don't do it a lot. I appreciate y'all's stance. People don't do that every day. They don't speak up.
They
They
don't
don't
speak up.
mm-hmm. They don't want to know the truth.
That is Miss Carvalho. That is Mr. Faison, and that is their child right there. That's the picture she was just referencing on the screen, you guys.
Yeah,
Sorry, I
that's
didn't have time to load it in video format, so I got to do it like this. But you all can see where she's coming from and what she's talking about.
yeah, that's nice. That's me in 1993. That's my daughter right there. She's 27 now. That's 1993. Yep. Mm-hmm. That
How
was
many kids do you have with A?
I didn't hear you. Say it again.
Excuse me. How many children do you guys have together? You just have the one daughter?
Yeah, just the one. But I mean, he also helped me with my second daughter. So yeah, just the one now. Some people think it's two, but it's one. And Pat has one. So yeah, this picture here, you can see how really skinny I was. I just had the baby, and for those 9 months was the first time in that relationship that he didn't hit me. It was shocking. It was the first time that I feel like I had some kind of power in the relationship. I was supposed to do an interview with my super at the time because my daughter was born in March in 1993. And my baby wasn't even 2 weeks old when he gave me the first black eye after having her. He didn't hit me during the pregnancy, which is I don't really know what to think about that. I haven't really assessed that. But I'm grateful. I'm very grateful that that didn't happen during that time, but I was still under extreme stress for some of the other things that he was doing, which hopefully one day I write about what I went through the pregnancy. Although there was no physical abuse in the pregnancy, it was still emotional or psychological. But it was like he was a different person during that time. And then when she was less than 2 weeks, he had blacked my eye. And I remember my super had knocked on the door for something that morning. And when I opened the door and I was trying to look down, his name's John. And he was like, Shelly, I know that nigga didn't hit you already. And he said something like to that effect, really loud at the door. And then I said, yeah, whatever. And then I closed the door. When I went back in the bedroom, because it was still dark in the bedroom, A was like, what that nigga said? I said, well, A, he was right there. You could have asked him. And you know, like this was the kind of person that he was. Like if somebody else said something or somebody else made him mad, he would take it out on me. But John is one of those people that was can, you know, prove what I had went through. And I was young, you know, when you're young and you don't really know. And he was trying to tell me like, you know, you got to get up away from this man. You know, he didn't like him. He was my super though, but he was a black super and he was really close to the tenants there where we were staying at that time on 116th and 7th Avenue in Lower Harlem. Yeah, so.
Was he an older gentleman? Pardon himself. Was he an older gentleman?
The super, yeah. So like if I was 22, he was like 40 something. And he had a daughter that was like my age or maybe like 2 years younger than me. So, you know, that was during a time, you know, in the 90s where communities where people would like speak up a little bit. He was one of those guys. He was like old school, and he didn't like it. And he didn't really care who Azie was or didn't know or care. He just knew that it was inappropriate what was happening in the apartment and what I was going through. And he was just very shocked to see me with a black eye when he knew I had just had a baby.
So is it your position that he looked at you like a daughter? Like you said, he had a daughter that was right around your age. So he looked at you kind of like a daughter figure as well and was trying to look out for you.
Yeah, very much so. Could have. Could have definitely been assuming that kind of role.
Sorry about that. I apologize for interrupting. One other thing you said that stuck out to me was that he asked you, I know that nigga didn't just hit you, this and that and the other. And then A waited until he left and asked you instead of asking him what he said and this and that and the other. How did that, what did that make, I mean, from a woman's point of view, I'd like you to express this if you don't mind. How did that make you feel about A, so men can understand how that makes a woman feel when stuff like that happens
Yeah.
or whatnot. You know?
Yeah. Well, by this time, I had already spent a few years in a relationship, and I had already went through the stages of well, at first it was shock. Then it was like this really pitiful stage, I think, that females go through in a domestic violence situation, where it's just mass confusion, and it leads to isolation because you really cannot understand how a person could be doing this. But by the time I gave birth, something else was boiling up in me. And I ended the relationship literally when Asia was 2.5, 3 months old. So after all I had went through, when that day when John said that, I was already at my Tina Turner breaking point. Like, if you remember that scene in the car when she was fighting him back, and I think she did something and she got out the car in that movie. Well, I was at that point where anything he said, I was like just looking for a reason, either to hurt him or to find a way to throw him out the window. I was looking for a reason. So when he said it at that moment, I was already in the state of mind where I had looked at him different. It took me a long time to get there, where I started looking at him for what he was. At that time, like I said, I want to watch my mouth because, my spiritual beliefs, and I don't want to say mean and nasty things. But if I could put myself in that mindset, speaking at that moment, I just was like, what a pussy.
Word.
I knew at that moment. I didn't know before. I couldn't put those pieces together, but I was so tired by this time. And I was like, wow, he was just right there. You could have got your fat ass up and asked him why he said that. I was frustrated. I was angry. I think he knew, though. I think he knew that his days was numbered right there. To be honest, I suffer with a lot of memory problems, and it's a result of a lifetime of trauma. That is one of the consequences of some of the things I went through childhood and then through him. I don't remember why he punched me in the eye or what transpired. That's what's so crazy. I don't remember that particular incident because there was so many. I only know that I had the black eye and that he did it, but I don't remember why or what, because he was so random. Like, it was so many times that I said the wrong thing, or we were looking at something and he got the wrong impression and he would like backhand slap me. And one time he broke my nose in the car. Another time he punched me in my eye right in front of Pretty Tone, who was one of the artists on the Mob Style album. So it's Whip Wop, Pretty Tone, and him. Watt was kind of young. Watt was younger than me, I think. But me and Watt are still cool. I think he's in Baltimore, Delaware, somewhere. I forgot where he moved. But Tone was the only person, not to, jump all over the place, but this story is kind of big. This was about, maybe I was with about 18 months, and Pretty Tone was in a car. We always had these cars, like these, what do you call those black cars, like Lincolns? We always had these cars on hold. And, A would have them 24 hours, 48 hours, 36 hours on hold. So we happened to be in this one. It was daytime. I remember it was me and Tone in the back. A was in the front seat and the driver was in the driver's seat. And we were parked on 132nd, or we were actually pulling up to where that spot was, where he would be by the church. And we were pulling up. Tone was on my left. I don't remember who was on my right. I was in the middle seat where the hump is in the car. And I forgot who said what. And Tone was like, all right, so I'm getting out. And I said, all right, later, Tone. And he slapped me right there. He went across like his abuse started to get so out of control, like his jealousy and rage, that people started to see it. And he bent over and he smacked me in my face. And Tone looked back over his shoulder. I don't remember what day or when or how soon after, but Tone said to me specifically, I did not like that shit, yo. I don't know what the hell is going on, but you too young and you got to get away from him, yo. I ain't like that shit, Shells. He said it. He didn't say it to A, though. But I think he was courageous enough to say it to me because he had to know in the condition I was in. I may have said that back to A. Boogaloo, on the other hand, was always just, pretty quiet. But from my understanding, he was the same. So yeah, Tone was one of the people who stood up for me, who actually witnessed A's abuse. So did his sister, who just died the other day as well. She knew.
Whose sister just passed? A's sister just passed?
Yeah, she did. Rest in peace, Robert.
R.I.P. to her.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, she has some type of I think cancer, yeah, from my understanding. Yeah. I didn't go. I'm sure my daughters were there. I didn't go though. Yeah, she
TT, you got something?
I'm sorry, I'm here. Rick, say that again, please.
I said, did you have a question or something?
Yes, I do. People who are in domestic violence situations with narcissistic individuals, what are the signs of that? Because sometimes it can be hard to spot and even understand when you are unaware or in the midst of the cycle.
What are the signs? Well, there are a lot of signs. I created a course, and the course is called, I believe some of the links to how you can find me are listed somewhere in this.
Okay, yes.
Yes.
In the description box. All the links to where you can find Ms. Carvalho's work are in the description box, as well as across the screen. You can see her IG, her Facebook, her YouTube page, and where you can email her for advice, questions, or to take her course set. It's all across the screen or in the description box. Pardon yourself, I apologize.
Right. So what I was gonna say was, in the "You Can't Hurt Me No More" self-love kit for empaths who love too hard, I have like a 60-70 page booklet that's in addition to everything else with that course, where I discuss narcissism and how it can affect you. But one of the main things that I didn't pick up on was the isolation. One of the ways to tell that you might be dealing with a psychopath or a narcissist or a person with a very toxic personality is not based on what he has. A lot of times, like what happens in our community, when people see people and they got money and they got things going on, the assumption is this person has everything, so why would they be an abuser? But a lot of times these people are abusers, right? And they're hiding behind money and different things like that. So the first sign is isolation. I didn't know it, but what he would do was, like, slowly he had a problem with all of my friends. He didn't like nobody.
Okay.
So it started with isolation. Then he got me the beeper. But the beeper was a way to like constantly be tracking me or whatever. I want to say the love bombing stage, like buying you everything, like the stuff he was so crazy. Like it was like, wow, and I had a little son at the time. So he would buy all type of Sherlins, all type of stuff. He just was buying all this stuff. And then another time he got me a condo, or at least he said it was mine, and it was very far away, like 2 hours away from the city in Long Island. And that's another thing that they do. They will try to situate you kind of far away so you can't get in touch with your people. Starting to talk mean and degrading, but like maybe like in a joking kind of way. Like making like fun about something, making fun of your body, or trying to find some point of insecurity that they can latch onto to be able to make you feel bad about yourself. But a lot of times people don't know that people who do this generally is because they don't feel good about themselves. And so they will work on you to get you feeling just as bad so they can get a certain level of control. See, what made it crazy about him is that he actually had a good personality, can be fun and comedic, in like this laid back way that you wouldn't even know the type of person that was inside. Like you wouldn't know, unless he targeted you for the abuse. Because it's my understanding that he was dealing with some people that he didn't abuse, But he's able to do that when he has someone that he is abusing, right? So it was me, it was Pat, it was another female, I can't think of her name. So like it's a certain type of person that they gravitate towards to do this with. But the first thing is isolation. But the very, very, very first thing that can tell you that a person is an abuser is like an excessive admiration, like too much, like putting you on a pedestal, like wanting to do everything and so much until it seems like a little bit overwhelming. The way that a lot of times that these kind of guys, no matter what color they are or what profession they have, whether they're a drug dealer or a corporate person, the love bombing, you know, they could do so much for you in 1 minute, and the next thing you know, you're captured like in this trapping net. I know not all of them hit and beat you, but that's what A did. He was a beater. 6'3", he was big. You know, I was small, so it took me a long time to stop having fear. It took me a long time. He's a big guy. So that's what I would say. I would say be careful of anybody.
Did you ever go to the authorities? Pardon yourself. Did you ever go to the authorities on A?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Not enough, and not. I never stood by it. As I'm now going to talk about, you know, people from the street like me. The problem with what goes on in our culture is that we already grow up with this idea that our men have it so bad. You know, never call the police on somebody. There's this psychology out there. So you're thinking, damn, not only is he a drug dealer, he's a black male. So if I get the cops involved, this thing could go somewhere else where I don't want it to be. And this is that non-selfish kind of spirit a lot of black females have, to the point where they will be suffering at risk and will not get the cops involved, because culturally we're taught that we're not supposed to do that. But many times the cops were called. I don't have anything to do with it. You know, just like the time when he messed up my eye and I had to get admitted in the hospital, he took me to the hospital. And so the doctor, I remember in the emergency room, was looking at me like, who did this to your eye? And I'm making up like all kind of stupid shit. And the doctor knew. But this was before the thing with OJ and his wife that ended up dead, before they started changing the laws, holding like hospitals and doctors and different people accountable. Like now they have laws in where if you suspect it, you have to report it. So during the time that this was happening to me, this was pre Nicole Simpson. So before Nicole Simpson, women were in hospitals with their abusers, with their pimps. And people might have an inclination that something is going on, but they didn't have any tools or methods to be able to make a report. I ended up in the hospital at that time like 2 weeks because they had to drain the blood from the back of my eye. They told me that if I got to the hospital an hour later, I would have been seeing like infrared out my right eye for the rest of my life. He punched me in my eye full speed. I mean, if you think of weight, he must have hit me with a 40 weights in my right eye. After antagonizing me and bullying me for about 20 minutes, asking me did I go out to eat with some guy. That's a long story. It's too long for me to do it here. But hopefully I get to write about it one day. And when he hit me, this is the thing with abusers. It gets more and more dangerous. More and more. Like the hits get harder. You know, the abuse gets more dangerous and severe. I'm very, very lucky. He hit me in my eye so hard that it felt like I had swallowed my eye in this situation. It was terrible. And the streak that came out of my throat from that hit was so bad. His mother, like his mother apartment was very long. She had these long hallways. If you could imagine hallways so long that you could fit 4 bedrooms in the kitchen in between it before you got to her room. That's how long it was. She was a little overweight and had some knee problems, but she actually came down the hall that day. That night, she was like, I don't know what you're doing to that girl, but y'all you gotta stop, Junior. You know, she was very upset that night. That was a night, you know, I tried to jump out the window over there. I couldn't get away from him. And I had got locked in that room for 2 more days with my eye in complete pain in the dark. till he finally decided to take me to the hospital. I was telling him I can't see. I'm telling you, I can't see. It was fucking horrible. It's like even talking about it. It was horrible.
How many times were you held hostage by Azie?
Too many to name, but how many times I was held hostage and ended up physically beat. If I had to count them, I don't know, like 20.
See, in the statement that you wrote on the channel, you said that he had held women hostage, including a woman you know or something like that. I'm not gonna get into that because I don't wholeheartedly remember the comment. But that's what, and then you just said that he held you in the dark for 2 days after he hit you like that, and then decided to take you to the hospital. That's what prompted me to ask you, how many times had situations like this happened? And 21 is too many, but 20? Wow.
Oh, how many times? Oh, how many times at this bad?
Yes.
Well, at this magnitude, at this level, all right, when I was ejected through the window shield, right? Was in the coma for 3 days. That happened July 31st, 1991, I believe. 92. 91 because I was pregnant in 92. All right, so when I was ejected through the window shield, another time when he threw me down a flight of stairs outside of a brownstone. Another time I got away from him but tried to go back to the house to get clothes, and he caught me out there. Horrible. You don't even want to know. It stomped me out, everything outside there. The time that I just talked about with my eye, and maybe 2 other times that it was that high tense and drastic, like me running in the street on the highway, jumping out the car, different things like that. A lot of the friction was because I used to try to get away. I used to try to get away, and this man had some type of dominant power over like people, like people was afraid to hide me. People would tell him where I was. People wouldn't do enough to try to get in the way. Like the times he came and snatched me. My grandmother lived on the first floor, so we lived in a brownstone. And in the summertime, we would sit out there. And one of the things with abusers is now I understand why, though. They don't have any respect for your personal time you might need to heal, time you might need to recollect. They don't allow that kind of space, because that kind of space would give the person who is being abused insight, time to really think about it and possibly get away, possibly, get on the phone with the police and set up some type of boundaries and barricades to keep this person away. So people who abuse other people are so desperate that they cannot allow any time to lapse between the time they beat the shit out of you and they can't find you, right? So this is what he used to do. He would smother me. He would smother me. The time is one story that I had planned to share. I won't get to it yet, but that's what I want to say. A lot of times women who come out of abusive homes like I came out of take this aggressive what the fuck do you call this aggressive stalking and smothering, and I love you and I want to know where you at. They take that as love. That is not love. Love is a person who can say, all right, you need space, I respect that, I'm gonna give you that space. But a lot of people in our community think that love is being completely sandwiched by a person. I knew that that wasn't what I wanted. I just didn't know how to get out of it because I was living in a very small world. It was a bubble here in Harlem. I'm in Harlem and I'm with Azie. That doesn't seem like there anything else exists, especially during a time just coming out of the crack era when the community looked like we were all alone anyway. Wasn't nobody there but us. Crack fiends, the streets is fucked up, niggas getting killed. Like, you don't realize that there are any other resources. And then when you look at my childhood and my history and my mother getting killed at 28, it was like I was kind of destined for this. I think I played right into the stereotypical assumption that would happen with somebody like me. The only difference is I beat those statistics, even having went through that. That's another story. That's God. But for a long time, I played right into the statistics. These generational curses, like this shit is for real. It's real. If you hit and beat your woman in front of your kid, it's highly likely the boy gonna do the same thing. If you hit the mother, it's highly likely that the daughter is gonna tolerate the same thing. So it's like you got to be careful of what you teach us, because then the first time a nigga lay his hands on you, you don't know how to respond properly. And the reason I know this is true is not only from my own studies, and for me ended up, going on to be a writer, and doing the things that I do. I actually saw it because I had a best friend who was very, very tight with her father. He took a second job to be a cab driver to bring extra money home to his family, and he got killed by a 17-year-old who robbed his taxi. It was really sad and tragic. But the point that I'm making, not to get too much into that story, her father was like a good father. So when she met an abuser one time in her life, it only took one time for this guy to act weird with her, and she was out of there. That's the difference, right? You know what I mean? When a woman father is her first best friend and her love, she's not gonna be as vulnerable as I was. She's not gonna be susceptible to an abusive man. So the first time A hit me, I'll tell you guys that story. But I'm gonna break for a minute so y'all could talk. I need to get some water. I'm gonna tell you the first time he hit me and how I responded, which is so crazy, and what allowed the abuse to continue.
Okay.
Yeah. So anything y'all want to say? Any
I thought you gonna break and get some water, or you want to take some questions?
Oh yeah, no. But I mean, y'all could talk. I'm gonna just put some water in my cup, and then I'm gonna turn the camera on. I'm gonna turn the camera on for a second. All right.
I have a question. You said, well, when you came and put the comment in the video, myself and TT made on January 13th, you said that, no, not that comment particularly, pardon yourself. You said on the This Is 50 interview that Richard Porter's mother was like a mother to you, and that she actually raised both of your daughters, both of our daughters is what you said on the thing. You said, I want to know what was that time in your life like, and what prompted you to have your daughter spending so much time with Richard Porter's mother at that point in time? Was it necessity, or was it more like a grandmother thing or something?
That's a good question. Can you hear me?
Hello?
That's an excellent question. Can you hear me? Hold on.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a good question. Hold on. That's an excellent question. Can you hear me? Hold on.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a good question. Hold on. That's an excellent question. Can you hear me? Hold on.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a good question. Hold on.
There's a little feedback coming through.
That's a good question. Hold on.
There's a little feedback coming through.
Okay. Oh damn! What's that noise from my phone? Sorry about that. That's a good question. Odin.
Yes, ma'am.
Odin, like
You just called me old.
No, I want to say something about Odin though, because that is, I think it was the name of a Viking, like a famous Viking. Did you know that?
Odin is like the Lord. He's a god, and yeah, he's like a Viking god. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Yeah, the name. Great, a nice name. All right, so here's where the shit gets. This is where the shit gets messy, right? This is all right. So I knew Richard and his mother before A, but not Pat. So Rich was my friend, and one of my close friends who was like a bestie at the time when I was young, like 16, 17. Her name is Michelle too. Lived on that block across the street. So me and Rich got cool when I was young. And so I used to see his moms or whatever. for some strange reason, this is why I say some stuff is just divine. It's weird. I never picked Vilma to be my kid's grandmother. So what you got to understand, like what you said earlier, was it necessity? Yeah. It was more about necessity, and it was Pat's approach. So it was kind of funny that, you know, Pat was known for fighting people who was, you know, fucking with A or whatever, but when it came to me, she had a special liking to me. And I couldn't understand it at the time. I mean, I got different answers today than when it initially started. I really feel like I was manipulated. But Pat was long gone about her business, you know, during the time this thing with me and A. And I know one of your followers had asked, was this before A got shot? So I was with A after he got shot, not before. So when me and A was together, and then I got away from him, I'm sure Pat heard about the abuse. I know she had to know. She heard about the abuse. There's no way she didn't know. And then when A is the first one who started leaving Asia with Vilma, because it's like this weird ready-made shift family that we have, right? My kids are still over there. So basically, I don't have a mother. I didn't have a father. So when I finally got so tired of him and I finally got the strength to leave him, it took a while for him to get it. He was taking my kid over there. And
so
it kind of naturally.
You left him and went to Richard's mother's house?
Yeah. So you know how when the father takes the baby, you know, the baby's where the father goes. So it turned into like just sister, brother, everybody. So my daughters ended up, Vilma was the main babysitter. She became the main babysitter between delegating the responsibilities between me and A. Because I got tired of dealing with him. I just didn't want to deal with him at all. And so Pat's mother became that person. And of course, Pat is in it, you know.
Absolutely.
We both have daughters. Our daughters are sisters. So it's just family. So it's like, okay, we just got to keep doing this. That's how it's kids involved. So we just had to keep doing it. So that's how that happened. It happened out of necessity. If I could do it over, I don't think I would have did it that way. No, I would have just tried to find a better way. But it just really wasn't any better way with what my work and different stuff. You know, her being centralized right there on 132nd Street made it easy, you know, for me to drop her off in the car. If I couldn't get there on time, A, pick them up, you know. And this is what makes this thing, you know, so horrible, because it's similar to what happened with my father and what he did to my mother. I had to grow up with my father's mother after he basically killed my mother and his second wife. So it was like a taboo situation. So I grew up from small, not being able to be honest or expressive about what was going on because the situation is so sticky. You know, it's just so sticky. So that's what ended up happening. Vilma ended up being like a grandmother to my kids. Richard was already dead by now. Richard never knew. Richard never got to know, but Richard did know some other things, but I'm not going to discuss right now today. You know, like how they try to make it out like Richard and A was so tight. But that's another story. Maybe we'll get to it. I'm not going to do it here. You already know. It's not with nah. So, but anyway, God bless Rich. He was not here. A lot of the stuff that transpired or whatever. With A and me is, you know, very, very mixy. But yeah, so Vilma was the only really like the last resort, you know, that was it. I mean, it was already family because Laurel is like, you know, my daughter, even though that's Pat's daughter. But when Pat was running around, I was home with her daughter. Okay. So who is now 30 or something like that. So yeah, so then she ended up with my daughter. So that's just how it is. But we definitely fell out and had some disagreements about exposing him. Because some people rather keep on pretending so they could party and glorify paid in full and not really want to get to the truth to fulfill a purpose of what happened in those streets, right? People just want to celebrate who's the best drug dealer. Like, that shit is ridiculous to me. Like, you got to be kidding me. Like, I mean, why are we celebrating it? Do we realize what happened here? Like, what the fuck are we doing? So, we're very different in terms of like being ghetto and ascending to a high level of existing and thinking. We're super different where that's concerned. And we started to bump heads right around that This Is 50 interview. That's when I realized that a lot of stuff was done for reasons that was unbeknownst to me. It wasn't genuine. It was a matter of trying to keep me contained, keep me satisfied so I don't talk too much or some shit. I don't really know. But it wasn't genuine, because if it was genuine, nobody would have a problem about me telling the truth, especially when she went through the exact same thing. Very similar. Very similar. Pat, very similar. Being beat up and cheated on and everything else. Ain't no different.
So when you saying it was by necessity, this is around the time when you were a real estate agent, you had your own company, because you did say you were a real estate agent at one point. You had your own company, talent agency that was providing girls for Fat Joe videos or whatnot, and then you started a company of your own. So this around that time in your life, is that correct?
Nah, he was out of my life then. I could never do anything like that with A in my life. No, when A was in my life, I was working for the city, but I never really made it to work because I was always beat up. It was always something happening. I was in the union, so lucky for me, I was able to continue to get paid. I was out of work one time, almost 18 months, because of him. So when I was with him, no, there was nothing going on. Even when I was going on, when I was trying to be an actress and I was going on interviews for acting and different things like that, I had something coming up with Spike Lee. He blacked my eye before the audition. So this is another thing with abuse. Abuse is, because of the nature of what's happening, can totally remove all the confidence, any dreams. You won't be able to aspire to any dreams. They will totally mess everything up. And so the only thing that I got out of that relationship was writing the script Trapped. Now, anyone who knows A knows that I don't know when he left school, what grade, whether it was 4th or 8th, but he cannot write. So he has very serious issues writing in English. So even when he wrote like Mob Style, it's like chicken scratch on the paper. So like he can't write or he can't spell and stuff like that. That's always been a problem, but that doesn't mean he can't create, because he still was creating. This is why I had to write the script. And so I wrote the script. I did all the research, all the work, all the formatting, all the stuff that gets done in a final draft. And so I did that. I created all the dialogue, all the language. He brought the story home and I did the work. And one of the last things he said to me, before we came to that moment where I finally got rid of him, was, yo, go downtown and register that script so nobody can steal that script from us. And I never did it. And I never thought in a million years that he would do that. So like I said, when the film was done, it said, special thanks to Michelle. I'm like, where's my writing rights? And he telling me, oh, they did this and they did. Yeah, it's just bullshit. But this happens all the time. Like the lady with the Matrix. I mean, this happens all the time. These people steal stuff. And the only way you will get your proper credit is if you you got to be right up under people fighting for stuff. People don't do the right thing, especially in that industry. They don't do the right thing.
Let me ask you this. You talked about a situation where Dame Dash called you to Canada and you didn't go. And you said that was your opportunity to fight for your rights or your proper credits or whatever you were supposed to have. Do you believe not making the trip made the decision for Dame Dash to just give you a shout out instead of your proper credits, or that Azie took full credits for the script or may have made a side deal? How do you think that panned out?
That's another good question. Good question. I do think me sleeping on it and not showing up. People got to understand there's a post-traumatic stress disorder. There's a lot of things that go on in a person after getting out of an abusive relationship. It could last for a long time. And A was basically still abusing me. Because so by this time, I had bought a house, my own house without his help in New Jersey. I had my own house with my kids. And he would come arguing at my door. Like he was just an asshole. Excuse my language. And so it just, I didn't like him. Okay. And so when he said they're financing the script, I need you to get Asian and come to Canada. Knowing how disorganized and, you know, foggy his mind is, like, you never really know what page he's on. You know, all right, what are we doing here? What am I coming for? And so whoever was working production, I don't know who they gave my number to, but they were calling me. They called several times and said they was going to pay my way for me to come to Canada, but they were not clear. And I'm gonna be honest with you, at that time, I wasn't thinking about that stuff because I know I wrote it. He had the paper. I figured he would take care of it. And I don't remember what else may have been going on in my life. But I just didn't go. I didn't want to be around them. You know, I was already friends with Cameron. You know, I didn't want to be in that space. And I think most people knew why. And it also has a lot to do with how they contacted me. Bring your daughter and come to Canada. For what? And this was when the movie came out, 2002. This was about 2002, 2001, 2002. So I just didn't go. I forgot the last part of your question. I just didn't go. I just thought that the right thing that was supposed to happen would happen. Maybe part of me didn't even believe that they were going to really do it, even though they went in Canada. I didn't know where the thing was going to go.
Do you believe that is it Dame Dash himself that called you to come to Canada, or was it Azie?
No, it was A called, and then it was Dame Dash. Whoever he hired, it was a female. Whoever was handling those calls for production, for that actual production. I don't remember who she was. A must have gave her my number or them my number, thinking if they called, then maybe I would come. But I didn't come. I still didn't come.
So that's what the end of the question was. Do you believe not making that trip made the final decision and them just giving you a shout out instead of the credit you deserve? Or do you think it was, you know, AZ saying, I did this. This is my script, or whatnot?
I think it was a combination of both because, first of all, you got to realize that you're supposed to be fighting for something. So I didn't know. Let me turn my camera on. Let me turn my camera now. First of all, a person has to know. I didn't know that I needed to be fighting for something. So that's number one. In hindsight, I believe that there was some type of deals made behind my back that I was unaware of that possibly could have been in effect if I showed up. You know, maybe I would have showed up and it would have been arguments. You know, maybe I would have showed up for whatever reason. God didn't want me there because I think I would have went. I really don't know, but I do know now, obviously, that side deals were made. Before Alpo died, Poe told me that A gets some type of, now this would make me think that it's some funny shit, that A gets some type of royalty. So I don't know if he exaggerated the royalty. He said something about $10,000 a month or something like that. That was the first time I heard of something like that. And this was when did Poe tell me this? Maybe 6 months before he died. Alpo told me that. It could be a lie though, because A lies a lot. Because I couldn't find, in my research, I couldn't find anything to support that. Because from my understanding, this is why I don't really blame stuff on Dame. I really think that Harvey Weinstein jerked like everybody off. And then learning like who he was and some of the stuff that they do in that industry. I don't think Kidnapping was positioned properly. All the contracts. And I don't have any proof. I don't have any real proof that A is getting this royalty. But if he is, this might be the hidden reason why Pat latched onto me in the way that she did. I would hate to think that she pretended all this time just to try to keep control over the finances and what I would say and what I would know. I would hate to think that, because I do think that she does have some type of genuine relationship with my kids. And we had one at one time. It was just her improper response after I did the This Is 50 interview that concerns me. And another friend that I grew up with, Kev Chow's first wife, Rika, that I grew up with, said something to me one day. And she was like, yo, why you and Pat so tight? So I'm like, what? So that sat with me. Because sometimes people from the outside looking in is like, what the fuck? Because it is possible for people who share the same baby father to be tight, though.
Absolutely.
But was it something else that I didn't know? And so that's something that, you know, I just live with. Were you trying to keep everything a certain type of way so y'all could keep getting something and leave me out? Something that you know you had nothing to do with, Pat? I'm like, you the sister, but you ain't no writer. You know, you ain't do none of this work. And when I wrote it, I wrote about you. Because we after the fact. So, you know, I really don't know. There's a lot. This is why this is one of the main reasons why I just leave it buried, because it's like overwhelming. And so what I did was just continue doing my own work, because life goes on, right? I wrote my 2 books. I wrote the rooftop script for Teddy Riley and them. Hopefully it get financed. You know, I did a lot of stuff. It's a lot. I put in a lot of work. I paid my dues. So the work is out there. Like Dapper Dan, that's a friend of mine. I mean, Danny worked all them years, and then all of a sudden he was recognized, right? All of a sudden Gucci said, okay, we gonna do the right thing, right? Because we've been stealing your shit and stealing your patterns and stealing your designs, and you never got no credit for 40, 50 years. I was in there with him, a teenager, 16, waiting for my Easter outfit. Back in the days when he used to do all the Gucci stuff and all that. And he was a man. I was in there with Mike Tyson, all these people. And you know, they shitted on him. And then it took one journalist that was really in that mix, in that Hollywood mix, to say, you know what? I think it was something Rick Ross had on. I really don't remember what triggered it. I can't remember right now, probably because I'm in this interview. But it may have been something like this. Don't quote me verbatim. Someone from one of those industries, either Louis Vuitton or Gucci, possibly Gucci, had a inside designer who created an outfit that either Rick Ross or one of those high profile rappers wore without giving mention to the pattern that was created by Dapper Dan. So this person was accusing Gucci, I believe, as being a culture vulture. And it may have been the one that Alpo wore, the Louis Vuitton, the half. Back in the days, he had the half brown, half Louis Vuitton bomber. And what's that light-skinned producer's name? Ended up, it was like magazine.
French Montana?
Yes, French Montana. It may be a result of that, or it may have been a result of something Rick Ross wore. And they had their design team do it without giving any credit to where it actually came from in the street. And so some kind of way, you know, that worked out, you know, because I really believe in not law of attraction. I believe the way God has this set up is that the seeds that you plant, it is the law. They must give you back the fruit that you, no matter how many weapons, you know, come against you, no matter what, they must form. So I rely on that. And so I just, you know, kind of let that go. Mainly because I felt like everybody got shortchanged. You know, Dame ended up getting into a fight with somebody I knew because they were arguing. Because one thing about Velma, Rich's mother, this is why I wasn't sure when Alpo came and told me about that money that he was getting. I was like, wow, that would be crazy, because to the day she died, God bless her dead Velma, she was upset that this movie was out there about her son and she wasn't getting no money. So she always got to call people for, you know, money. I need money. I need to pay my bills, whatever. I gave her what I could, you know, different people would give her what they could. So if he was getting this royalty, then I would think that he would be, you know, giving her something at the time when she was alive.
Not to interrupt, but that's actually the next question. I got the notes. Shout out to the notes. Everybody know I take notes. The next question was, nobody made the money that they said they should make. You said that on This Is 50, and I believe you were referencing Velma and Pat. Now, was there a deal in place for them to make some type of revenue from the movie because of Rich's likeness being used?
Probably not, because
Do you
people
believe?
don't know.
Were you aware of any deals?
Probably not, because people don't know that they have to do it. Like when you're talking about, first of all, autobiographies or true stories are very hard to get done in Hollywood for this very reason. But some type of way, you know, because of Dame Dash's connections, it was done. But did they? Somebody's saying hi. Hey, Miss T. Hi, boo. Somebody is hey, what's up, T? So the way this stuff is done, I'm gonna call you, I'm gonna hit you up. The way this stuff is done, a lot of times people don't know, especially in our communities. I mean, it's clear that Hollywood has a tendency in the rap industry of vulturing from our community, and the people don't benefit from it. And then it's going to be even 10 times magnified if you got a black person or a person from the community who's working with these motherfuckers and not thinking about nobody else. I hate to say that Dame is that person, because what he tries to do is present his person as, he presents himself as someone who wants the best for everybody. So how come I never heard from this nigga?
Word.
You gotta know by now, my nigga. So if you so intelligent and everybody else is the culture vulture, why have you never talked to me? Right? You so intelligent, you spin dialogue around everybody motherfucking head on YouTube and everywhere, and everybody holding you up. I'm saying, my nigga, I wrote that shit. Right? You end up with the context that you got it because of me. Ain't knows it, everybody knows it, right? Did you all get ripped off or what? Because right now, at my age, I should be getting the royalty for that work. I shouldn't have to worry about nothing with all I went through. But yeah, but when he went through whatever he went through, and he made a statement about what's that gay guy from Hollywood who owed him the $1 million? Not Tyler Perry, the other dude.
Lee Daniels.
And then Lee Daniels like, you right, owed the $1 million, gave him the $1 million. Well, I feel the same motherfucking way.
Absolutely.
I feel the same way. So, you know, the only thing that keeps me going is knowing that they probably didn't get what they said or some shit like that. And then what was even worse is A put some nigga out of nowhere, out of left field on there. Well, I don't even know this dude. The guy he said co-write with him, that's a total lie. I don't even know this guy. Some guy with some type of Muslim pro-black name. I can't remember the name of the guy. But that's how he was. He just picked people up or whatever. You know, but I got over it. When you look at me and you see the type of person I am, you would not believe what a truly punk ass person that I was to be in a relationship like that. Like, it just was incredible. And when I look back at it, I'm like, you know, this is amazing. That I could go through something like this. And I had to heal myself, and I had to take care of myself, and I had to become the person that I am, you know, with a lot of help, people like you.
Thank you.
Because yes, people like you guys, thank you again, because the people here in this hood they just so phony. They full of shit. They worship what they worship. They idolize what they idolize. There's no room for intelligent people. There's no room for breakthrough people. No matter how much they talk about it, there really is no room for us. Black people, they don't fucking honor that shit. They just honor who was the drug dealer, how much money he had. You know, not how many people's daughters were almost destroyed as a result of it. Nobody talks about the 13-year-old Lynette, I believe her name was, that A was having sex with, and who actually got shot in her damn head going with him over there to his art house where the people was waiting to set him up. Nobody, how that shit just get under the rug, my nigga? I mean, I was an adult, yeah. When I met him, I was 18 and a half. He was 27, 18, 19. But still, I was still a kid. But I take full responsibility, because I do know now that when you play with Satan's devices, you're going to get what you came for. It don't matter if you're a good person or not. So I do realize that, and I take full responsibility. Otherwise, I couldn't be a teacher. I couldn't coach. I couldn't help people if I had a victim mentality. But these things happened. And sometimes people will do horrible things to you, and they will not apologize or make amends, because everything in their life depends on them not doing so. Because if they do apologize and they do tell the truth, it changes the whole story. paid in full, about everything. It'll change the story. And it took my little young 17-year-old to tell me that. She said, Mom, if people know the truth, it will change the whole story. That's why they try to, they never denied it. They don't deny it. You know, they just don't address it and correct it. But it would take the attention off of certain things, and it would bring the attention to other things, you know. Alpo, he knew it too.
He's never apologized. And that's another thing. You said Alpo. You in your comment on this is when you commented on our page, you said that Alpo was even surprised at some of the things you revealed to him about the other side of A, and that surprised me. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah. He was bugging, because he was like, the way they talk about me and use me for a scapegoat, to think that, he was like, what? You know, just to think that A was this kind of person in the dark. I was just shocked that Poe didn't know. I mean, like, Poe left us very young, going to jail and stuff, and all this crazy stuff he did. And then, you know, he was like in DC. So the extent of Azie's behavior that he probably was conscious of was him like having sex with so many people, like all the time, like every night, because of like who he was. So he had the power to manipulate lots of young women. But I didn't know, but I don't think that Poe realized what he was doing, like on a deep, dark, personal level. But he was just shocked. He was shocked, you know, because Poe had a lot of self-pity things going on with him. You know, even though, you know, when he's on them interviews, he does all that. But mostly he's fragile. He's dead now. But he was a kind of fragile person. And he did not like the image that they tried to make him as. It was like he was torn. It's like he was enjoying the praising part, but it's like he didn't like being called a snitch and like this animal killer person, which obviously he was. But he didn't like that. He kind of like had a hard time like facing that. I should have pulled up the synopsis. I mean, I could show you. I got his signature. Maybe I'll do another live with you. I'll show you. He signed a contract with me. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll show it to you. I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. I won't give it to anybody else. I want to help your channel, and I just want to just make a statement. Anything that I'm saying on this channel is exclusively mine's and Odin's. So don't chop it. If I catch you, I'm gonna have a problem with it. Don't share it. I gave this interview to you, like when I gave B139 their interview. Especially those huge blogs. You cannot have this conversation with you and your followers. Yeah, so I do not give authorization or permission for it to be shared. But yeah, I meant to have that up. May have a screenshot of it. I can check. Of Alpo. I did a synopsis for him, and so he was shopping because he had more of a story that he wanted to tell. He dealt with some form of abuse in his life. And it could be more to it. I don't know what made him like bordering on demonic like that. But yeah, he did some crazy stuff. But you know, they were in the street. You know, they were in the street. This is what happened. Like nobody is innocent. So we can't be trying to make one person worse than the next. You know, it's not realistic. Can't do that. You know, like you said, this shit comes. This is part of it. It's definitely part of it. But he was very shocked about A. I have some audio of him because he was like, I'm gonna ask him about that. I'll talk to him about that. Shit's fucked up, you know. And I think that he did not know how to do it. Because him and A, like I said, and when I wrote to you, have a very strange relationship, and people need to think about that. Why? So if Pat hate him so much and spent every waking hour focused on him while he was here, expressing how much he hated him on Facebook or whatever, how is your baby father, who you're so close to, seem to do anything for? How is it okay for him to maintain this friendship with him? What is that about? It doesn't make sense. It's not lining up. Something is not lining up. It's not logical, right? So, I mean,
Pardon yourself. How does your daughter, you said your daughter was raised by Velma partly or whatnot because she was over there so much. How does she feel about the parallel between Alpo and Rich Porter?
How does who feel?
Your daughter.
Oh, my daughter. How does she feel
Yeah,
about
about
what?
the parallel between Alpo and Rich Porter. Like you were just saying, how Azie can sit there, how he can do business with Alpo or whatnot, when it's financially, I guess, when it's financially beneficial to himself. And his sister spent all that time hating him. And they even celebrated, I heard. I couldn't find the video, but I heard there was a celebration of some sort when he passed away.
Oh, yeah, she
So I wanted to know how your daughter felt about it.
Well, my daughter is obviously on Pat and A's side because my daughter is a daddy's girl. My daughter is the exact, like, the same thing as him. And to be honest, I think it happened because he manipulated. This is the thing when I was saying I'm still being abused with narcissistic and psychopathic people. It's a very hard situation because women and men, if you're dealing with a psychopathic female or ex-wife, then comes a moment where you got to make a very tough decision. And that decision is, should I let this child around this person? Because the way that the person is could transfer into the relationship with the child, which is what he did. He totally manipulated my daughter. When I left him, I'm going to answer your other question in a second. One of the things that he used to do, which is very traumatizing, I would go pick my daughter up from school and she was gone already. I couldn't find her for 3 days. Yeah, this is how he would abuse me after. He kept intervening. And then I got tired. And I remember Pat telling me, I understand, don't worry, I got her. You go live your life. He kept disrupting my life by kidnapping my child, taking her out of the school. I mean, I was tired. I was young. I was just tired. And that's another reason why Pat and her mother was able to get such a frontline position in front of my daughter, particularly the one by A. My other daughter was just there because that's her sister, and there are a lot of little cousins and stuff. So they kind of all grew up together. Now, to answer, I heard about the party and celebration that Pat threw when he died. I can't say whether or not that gave her some type of closure. My daughter is not as privy to a lot of the information that I'm sharing with you as her older sister, Pat's daughter. See, Pat's daughter, I don't know if she remember when she was a kid. She used to see me beat up. She used to see me locked in the room when she was 6 and 7 because I was there living with them when they were little. So I'm 19, 20, they 7, 8, 9, and 10. And I don't know where Pat was at. This is when we were in his mother's house. So that the older daughter is more aware. She's more conscious of things. Plus, she's older. She may pretend because remember, people got to choose sides, but she know. And this is what makes it so bad because there's not a healthy level of honesty going on, which is why I had to detach myself completely because I'm not doing no fake shit. I think she did that because these people are always in acting mode for the camera and stuff because that can't be authentic. I don't know, how do you celebrate the death of someone? I really don't know. I mean, how do you equate that with being good? No matter what, like all of this was horrible. So I don't think like that. So I don't see it as something that should be celebrated. He's dead. That's fucked up. Everybody dead. That means that's the end of such a horrible chapter. But does that really bring closure? Do you think that is the communication from our Father God? You think God is saying, I killed him because Richard? No, that's not what happened.
Right.
It don't have, some people get so caught in the bubble till they lose sense of reality. Richard wasn't the only person affected by Alpo. Tens and 20s of many people were. And I'm sure it was the same the other way around with these drugs and all this stuff that happened. So that celebration, in my view, is just, one more thing for the toxic ass culture, one more thing for the books, because it's not even logical, right? It's not even logical. I don't even see people who family members got killed by a serial killer having a party when the serial killer gets the death penalty. I mean, it's just ghetto. So I really don't know what that's about. And I'm sure my daughter was around, not because she has any feelings for it or either way, just because she's young and she just there. She doesn't have any feelings for it either way. She doesn't know. She doesn't know. She doesn't know. I did a really good job for much what I could do of keeping her sheltered in the suburbs for a long while. You know, first it was the kidnapping, and then I got her in the suburbs. But he was one of the people that he don't go away. He's parasitic, so I had to share her with him. You know, he was coming to my door, like it was just ridiculous. And so that's that. But I'm sure some of the things that she went through and where she sees her life at now, I'm sure she wish she would have chose differently, because that toxic stuff, it kind of like spills over or whatever. That's a whole other story. That would be a whole other video. But yeah, that's what I have to say about that celebration. But I think us people from Harlem all felt the impact of that, because that was one of the hardest stories from our generation. So when he died, I didn't see many people outside celebrating and clapping. It just was like another part of that tragic story. Tragic.
I know I held you over your time. I know you wanted to share a story with my audience, or you said that you were going to share a story. I want to give you time to do that before we get out of here.
Okay. Do Miss T have anything to say? And do anybody have any questions? Let me look on here. Let me look on the YouTube.
TT was dealing with a lot today, so I think, you know, that's what she was required. Yeah.
Somebody said he was a demon. Definitely. No, Black Magic said, wait, you and Azie were living with Velma? No. No, Velma lived somewhere else, but the kids would be with her a lot while we worked and stuff.
That's a great question. I just got a great question.
What's that?
Why is Pat not stalking Apple? like I heard he was released the other day, and it shocked me. Actually, somebody said he's been out for at least 2 years or so.
Let me tell you how this culture can direct your attention and really make you forget that the main person that they should have been focusing on is their own family member. That's big. That's big. And not only that, the baby suffered a kidnapping that he didn't have nothing to do with this stuff. He wasn't a drug dealer. He just was collateral damage. And so this is what lets you know, or at least anyone who wants to look a little bit deeper, that there's something really wrong with this story. There's something really wrong with our need to focus on the drug dealer, whatever, the lifestyle surrounding that, and totally forget about the innocence. Richard and Poe was in the street. Let's not forget that. And when you're in the street and you got the type of power that Richard also had, he wasn't no punk. He had power. Something happened with me, which made us get close, where he stopped somebody that was trying to hurt me, somebody that I had to stab. I had to cut when I was like 17. And I'll tell you that little story. And he, when he showed up, that beef got squashed. It was like it never happened. I see the guy to this day. I seen him one time at an event. But, I was younger. I was a little wild. But at any rate, Richard had power. He had power. And so in order for you to get that kind of power, you must do stuff, or, you don't just wake up and have a name. So, like my father. And so this, people have these type of reputations and different stuff like that. But the child did not. And I'm just very surprised that there isn't more focus on that story, writing a story, just focusing on him and the fact that his life got cut short in the middle of this negative thing, this negative drama. Like this is a consequence of our behavior. Like some stuff that people don't want to admit. Like when you plant these seeds, you never know how it's going to come back. And so this was horrible. And so it was a choice to just focus on Alpo. What happened between Alpo and Richard, and how it was so shocking because they were supposed to be his friends, and what Alpo did, and Alpo being jealous of Richard and wanted to steal, I think it was Fritz, those 100 keys, or what A told me, having those keys on assignment, whatever he wanted to do. But there's something even more important that nobody ever talks about. I mean, why do you think? Why do you think the uncle is never discussed when that's what?
He's family. That's my thoughts. He's family. Like blood thicker, water slicker. That's the way I look at it. There's a lot of things I know of. I can't say that I know firsthand, but I've heard a lot of different things about Rich that I know that they don't want to be exposed to the public. And, because of the image that is portrayed of him
right
at this point. You know what I'm saying? And I understand that. But that doesn't help different situations. Put it like that. Like Poe's situation, A's situation even,
Mm-hmm. Right. So so that's what it is. It's just like a lot of containment. It's a lot of purpose. Let's focus on this and not focus on that. Even though this is probably more significant and more important because these two being in the street, being drug dealers, anything could happen. But without this 12-year-old who had nothing to do with nothing, and y'all tried to blame that on Poe, but it wasn't him.
Yeah.
Right. And so we know what that was about with with Preacher and all that. And so why don't we ever talk about that? Why isn't it the same amount of hate for Preacher and the uncle posting all up on the walls as it was for Poe? It just shows the dysfunction. So imagine what I went through, around these fucking people. I don't think like them. So it's just, I don't think like them. I think, totally different. I'm street as a motherfucker though, but I don't think in that kind of toxic way. It's like you gotta grow, my nigga. It gotta change. It gotta be different. You gotta grow. I'm not the same person. You're not beating me up. You're not doing nothing to me. Like the stuff that I went through is like, you're not doing nothing. And they know. They don't mess with me. But it's just the fact that y'all just keep lying and infiltrating and shit. And then Hollywood, they take these lies and they play it back. And niggas don't never get no truth out of nothing. They don't never get nothing. They don't learn no fucking lessons. How you gonna learn a lesson when you still praising both of these niggas? You praising him for being a hitman. You praising, like, I really don't know. I don't got no hate for nobody, but it's just the fake shit. A was a horrible abuser. Man, one time I had to jump out the highway on 46 to run from this man. On the highway, on the freeway. And I had to, when I finally got away, hiding behind cars and bushes and shit with no coat, I called my friend Beverly, and she's the one who, because at that time, that was like a lot of money. She had to get up the money for me to get in a cab far deep somewhere in Secaucus, New Jersey, to get back to the city. And then people were getting tired of me. Like, look, you gotta stay away from him. I'm young. I don't got no direction. They're like, this is crazy. But that story I wanted to share just to try to bring you guys' mind into some of the things that he would do. Anybody have any questions before I tell this one last story? I'm gonna tell you this story. This story is a little crazy.
I think I got one last question for you before you go over that. You said you wrote that line, we moving on up like the Jeffersons, that Cameron said and paid in full. And you chose not to bring it before a judge because one of the hardest things for you accepting when you were younger was your talent and writing skills. Do you believe the success of Paid in Full helped you further believe in yourself to the point where you was like, you know what, I'm not going to take it in front of a judge. I just do my own thing and make my own money a different way?
Like I said, I was very shocked. Like, wow, this is like a movie. But I was more shocked of the impact that it had on this generation. So in other words, all right, so that was us, that was then. But the internet came along. And so like I'm on the internet and I'm seeing like all these memes. I'm like, yo, this is shit I wrote. Like, it's just amazing. I just was like shocked. But did it have any? Nah, that shit was so dark. It didn't have no. I didn't get any inspiration from that. No, no, because I always feel like whatever God gave you or whatever you choose Like Puffy once said, I think Puffy said, he doesn't believe that people are born with purpose. He believes that we create it. So if that were true, if you create a purpose for yourself based on something that you know you do well, and you have the proper spiritual knowledge, you know, if you read the Bible and you understand the word of God, then you know that if you do something that is going to become what you want it to become, whatever level of success is your idea of success. So I believe that I have some of the abilities that I have as a result of coming through that relationship with A. I'm not going to give no credit there. But sometimes when you go through this hard, terrible type of stuff, like iron sharpens iron, like you got to come through this stuff. So I will say that coming through the stuff with my father, having to exist on this planet without a mother or a father, having to learn how mean and cruel and toxic people are, helped me become the person that I am today. It helped me pour out in the street PhD to be able to help creators. Because remember, I was a creator. And a lot of us are creators and we get caught up in this bullshit in the street and we never get to realize our full potential, whatever that is, whether you're a musician, you play, guitar instruments, you write, you want to write a film, a script, movie, whether you're a podcaster and you got a lot of information and philosophy to share. A lot of times we don't get there because we live in a community that doesn't respect it. They say that they respect it, but they don't. They'll use you for it. They'll manipulate you. They'll beat the shit out of you. They'll kill you, but they don't really help cultivate. They may notice these things about you, but they don't really help. That's been my experience. They don't really help. You have to help yourself. And like I said, you have to know God's law. Once you know God's law, you know you could do anything. And then you just make it happen. So that's just who I became as a result of that stuff. And I say it all has to do with like Holy Spirit, because I feel like if these things weren't in me, then I would have turned out totally different. Right. Because I have a sibling that's not too well. Ain't never been doing too well after what we went through as a child. So some people just get it, and some people don't. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that like I could see. There's no wall over my eyes. Like I could see clearly. It's a hard spot to be in though when you can see, because not that most people can't see. Most people don't want to see because it doesn't serve them to see. It doesn't serve them to be honest and truthful. And if you think about A in the interview that he did with Vlad that I didn't watch, you guys could tell me more about it. But somebody called me to tell me about it. I didn't watch it because I feel like anybody that's talking about Alpo right now is a fucking fraud. Because when he was here, you didn't have shit to say. So what I'm saying now is not valid, my nigga. Why you ain't say that when he was here? Because you was on the phone with him, talking with him? I know, because he was here.
Mm-hmm. So he talked to him more. You saying he said they talked in person. You said he talked to him while he was over there over the phone. So they talked more than the 2 times they alluded to then. Basically.
I don't know how many times they spoke, but they had conversations with one another. It's not like A cut him off. It's not like he.
That's what he alluded to. Like they had a conversation and then he left it into the lawyer's hand. That's how it comes out in the Vlad interview. And then all of a sudden, the day he's getting ready to sign the paperwork, October 31st, 2021, that happens to Poe.
He's dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah, that's what he's alluding to, at least in the interview, the way I see it.
Yeah, I didn't see the interview, but I just know that Poe's death is very suspicious, and it didn't have anything to do with these streets. That's for sure. It did. He told me that he knew he was gonna die, but it wasn't gonna have anything to do with Rich Porter or anything that he did. It was going to be outside of that. He said it either was going to be some young person trying to make a name for themselves or something else. And I really think it was just something else. I believe that Alpo belonged to the government and they took him. That's what I believe. Whether or not they took him after they got what they needed, meaning signature or information regarding how they're going to do this film, like they did the Biggie, like they did the Shock, like they did just so many of ours. I think they did that to him because he really is a part of this matrix. He was an instrument of it. At some point, he signed himself up to be an instrument of something evil, but he was already on the evil path. So what better ending to kill him on Halloween like that. So we'll see what is born of that, because nobody has seen Alpo body, which I find very odd. Even if nobody liked him, he had a lot of friends. So why wouldn't he have a wake? Or it's just very odd, very peculiar. I mean, I saw the car, I got wind of it. It's just weird. It's just weird. But all these people popping up got something to say. They full of shit. Because when he was here, they didn't say it. I'm not saying he's the toughest person in the world, but he was a person that he will give you an opportunity to say what you want to say. He wasn't going to hide like he'll come in your face and he'll give you an opportunity. He'll argue with you. He'll debate with you. He do all that. So these people, they full of it. They're full of it. I'm not saying he's a good person. I'm just saying he still was here. He was one of us.
I fuck with Poe heavy. Excuse my language. I apologize for that, but everybody know that. I do the alcoholic thing. He ain't never did nothing wrong to me, and he always kept it real with me. And that's the way I always slice it to anybody who has anything to say about that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know the Alpo that was in DC. I don't know the Alpo that was in Harlem. I don't know the Alpo that sat with you in your home, because I never stood next to him. I know the Alpo I know, and that Alpo was my friend. You know what I'm saying? We had deep conversations and whatnot. So if they don't like it, they don't like it. It'll be what it is.
And then the other thing too, you got to remember, while some people try to make themselves the good guy, remember he was in the streets big, right? Why do you think he pulled him into the scene? He pulled him into the scene. You know he a killer. So you wanted that. That's what you wanted. That's what you wanted, right? Like nobody don't want to take no responsibility for that. You wanted that, and you didn't want to break the ties with that either. Because when he came home, you just made it clear, like, don't fuck with me. You didn't even want to break the ties completely. He didn't want to break the ties completely, because that story is, bound by whatever. I think a lot of it is drama. But the story I wanted to share, which is so crazy, there was an incident that happened when one of these times when I forgot what he was arguing about. Most of the time he was accusing me of being with other people. So either he would hit me or threaten me or put me under scare mode where I would stay in the house and not go out. But this particular time, he said, this is exactly how it happened. He said, oh, you want to play with me? I got something for you. Do you know that this man took me in a car somewhere on the west side? So anybody from Harlem knows Broadway and the avenue over, I believe it's called Riverside, when you're in the 150s. He took me in one of these blocks. And at that time in the 90s, these blocks were dark, and they were known for being where the Dominican and other Latin Caribbean drug dealers were, where people would go get their cocaine. We know people would get killed there. It was just known to be a dangerous area and not to be in that area. So he took me there like under a hostile kind of energy, like he was going to do something to me. Now I'm terrified. We in the car. We pull in the block. Let's say it was 152nd between Riverside and Broadway. I'm tell you the type of person he was. Riverside and Broadway. So I'm like, hey, please, I'm telling you, I wasn't with anybody. Please don't do nothing to me. He was like, I'm not going to do nothing. My man going to do it. So I'm like, why are you, please, I'm begging him. He's like, yo, get out the fucking car. So I get out the car. I could laugh now, but that shit ain't funny. I get out the car. Now, if you know how the brownstones look in New York, I wish I had a picture. He's behind me. He said, I said, go, go, go. And he walks me in the building. I walk in the building. I go in the building. It's like a double door. It's a brownstone. We go in the first building. I'm still begging him. I'm like, please. I'm telling you, I wasn't with anybody. He like, get in. We go in the hallway. He walks up to one of the doors. It's like 2 apartment doors, and it looked like it's blood or like red stuff, like old residue of like blood and like dirt and debris in the hallway. So I'm like, hey, what are you doing? He was like, you gonna tell me who you was fucking with? So he made me walk to the door, and then I said, hey, I wasn't fucking with anybody. And he said, well, then that's it. And the nigga went out the door and closed it. And I was screaming, running behind him. Like he made me think someone was going to open the door and shoot me and kill me. And nothing happened, though. And I was screaming when I went out the door. He was waiting right here and he threw me down the whole motherfucking flight. A whole flight of stairs on the concrete. So I'm screaming and crying like this motherfucker used to have me in the most craziest, darkest, like who would do that to somebody? To this day, I don't know if it was a real person in the door or what, or my mom was, because I was so scared. And so when I got outside, he threw me down the steps. I jumped up. It was a cab coming. I got in the cab and I locked the doors. I was crying. I was screaming. There's a reason I'm telling this story. So I'm like, it was an African guy. This was when the Africans really first started coming in here and being the cab drivers. So I'm telling the guy, I'm like, please take me to 127 between 5th and Madison. He's trying to kill me, please. So A is tall and everybody is always intimidated by this nigga. So he bangs on the front window. He telling the man, he said, mister, mind your business. I'm telling you, mind your business. Open this fucking door. Do you know that man hit the thing and opened that door? And my hair's long. It was even longer when I was younger. When the man opened the fucking door, I just knew my life was over. A opened the back door and wrapped his hand around my hair and snatched my whole head, like the weight. It was like, and you heard the hair leave the scalp. And he slammed me on the floor, and I don't even remember what happened after that. It's highly likely he put me in the car and brought me home. But he was like that. That was like that, and it was horrible because that cab driver, I always remembered him because all he had to do was pull off. All he had to do was just pull off. I mean, what is he gonna do? Jump on your car? But this is the type of people that we're dealing with. If that was me, I would have sped off. I don't know that man. All I know is a young lady screaming and crying inside of my car. But that African cab driver opened that door. That could have been my life. That could have been the last day. I could have died that day. But he opened the door. He opened the door. So stuff like that would happen a lot. I would get away and people wouldn't want to help. Like maybe I'll get in the store and they'd be like, no, please go. Like it's unbelievable. And this is why I'm the total opposite. Like if I see somebody getting hurt, I'll stop. I'll help. I'll do something. But people don't do anything. So that's what I want to say. If you see somebody and it look like they're in a weird situation, it doesn't matter if they're a couple. Like if you're too scared to do something, maybe call somebody, call the cops, or maybe you can distract them by letting them know that you're there and you're watching and you're going to keep watching. It's different things that you can do to offset an abuser. Because if that cab driver would have said, look, stop this shit, he would have stopped. Because he like that type of person, he get a little delirious. You know, that's not the first time he did something like that, but he did stuff like that all the time. He was very mean. That story is crazy, right?
I'm sorry you had to go through that type of stuff in your dealing. You know, like on behalf of the real niggas, like I'm no women, no children all the way. I don't put my hands on women.
Right.
At all. And where I do, I ain't gonna say it all, somebody gonna try to make me gay, but that's something different. You know, I got a lot of haters on YouTube. But yeah, I don't put my hands on, I don't hit women. Let's just say that.
Somebody said Africans beat their women too. You think that's why he didn't help? Wow.
And you know what? They look down on Americans, not to say all of them, but I've encountered some Africans that look down on Americans or whatnot. Like, I'm not black, I'm African. You know what I'm saying? I done heard them actually saying this in conversation back and forth. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm no nigga, I'm African. I'm not black, I'm an African. No, we different than y'all. Like, you know, and I'm like, whoa, boy, well, you get treated about the same as I do. I don't know if you get a tax break, but they look at you the same way they look at me. So that when you said that it was an African that did it, the first thought that popped into my head was he didn't want his cab to get messed up. You said Azie beat on his cab and said, oh, he gonna mess my cab up. Get out, lady. Because I gotta pay for this. You know what I'm saying? More so about your life than the cab. You know what I mean? That's crazy. That's a coward. Both of those men are cowards, in my opinion.
Coward. Yo, I was like, yo, what are the chances that the cab that I jumped in would be a coward just like him? Maybe he was an abuser too. But that shit was crazy. I was like 20. And I know I probably looked 17. So you know, it was crazy. And I know he could see how big he was. You know, things like that would happen. But it was some dark ass shit. It was crazy dark. It's stuff that really needs to be written down, like so people could see it. That's why I was very proud of Tina Turner. I think she waited how many years? 30 years before she told that story. Many years had passed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you know, they made it into a film. And she actually used her own self, because I wasn't sure whether I was going to write the book and make a fake identity or like be myself. Sometimes I try to sweep it under the rug, but I do realize that, you know, even being ejected through the window shield because he was, you know, abusing me and different stuff like that. Like, these stories are huge because most people die. A lot of people die. People die every day. The young girl from around here just died last year. Like, she found a whole new husband she was about to marry, but she was still pregnant. I don't know if you heard about that. It was all over the news. The nigga came to her baby shower and killed her.
Wow.
He
Her
shot her.
baby daddy, or what? Her baby daddy did that shit?
An abuser, but she broke up with him and she was gone already. He came and he killed her. He killed her and the baby. That was a big story here in Harlem. So these things still happen. These motherfuckers are violent and crazy. So yeah.
Yep. So and you know, I know I've held you over. Thank you for being so patient, so for staying as long as you have. I really appreciate it. You've been a great guest. And in your book, you said you have the 16 principles you believe that everyone, particularly women, need to be able to get the confidence to build themselves up spiritually, physically, emotionally, and go for what they want. Now, can you let everybody know what they can get your books, your courses? And like I said, all of her information is in the description box, but I just wanted to come out of her mouth before we get out of this broadcast. If you don't mind, that is.
Yeah. So my website is adreamlyfe.com. And so I launched in about 2015. LIFE is an acronym for love yourself and focus on empowerment. So when I made adreamlyfe.com, it was my intention was to create like an online village where people could come and learn the different specifics and tools to be able to create using. I teach people how to leverage software and social media, but I was software and applications to be able to launch different products or services, and then be able to kind of like set up these funnels to be able to have your creatives selling while you sleep. But my main target audience were women and men who may have went through extreme traumatic experiences and are trying to tap back into their creative self. So I wrote 2 books, The Street PhD. The first book is called No More Broke Assness, where I teach kind of like that poverty mindset and spirit that we have and where it comes from. And what I do is I take my experience from the street to run a parallel to how easy it is to actually make money and how people do it from a low frequency and why they do and how you could do. So I explain all these different things in the matrix. And then book 2, 16 Laws for Gangster Confidence. I focus on the 16 principles that I believe through research and my own experience, obviously, what it takes to be able to be a strong, or maybe not strong, but like a resilient person who is like clear and can focus on and be consistent with your intentions in this life. And what I focus on is like the different type of negative energies that are out there trying to distract and hurt people, and that these narcissistic psychopathic people, and how they're in all different realms, not just the street, right? They're in corporate, they're everywhere. They're in our homes, they're in some of the business transactions that we have to deal with. So I try to tap into that psychology to help people understand so they could be able to not only get along with people more, but be able to identify when somebody might not be good and that could ruin their whole life plan. Because I'm telling you, it only takes one mean narcissistic person to destroy your life, destroy all of your plans, to ruin you spiritually and emotionally when you never bounce back. There's a lot of people who never bounce back from abusive relationships or from growing up with a tyrannical parent, or alcoholic parent, or they never bounced back. Like, they became just a statistic. And so I believe that what I went through in my life set me up for this type of work. So I work with people in 2 ways. I offer a platinum partnership. Every quarter, I work with 25 people and I teach them. You can look on my website to know exactly what the courses and the things are that I do. You can see that at adreamlyfe.com. But here recently, Some of what I do took like not a different turn, but what happened with the pandemic, and all this different stuff that we've been going through, I kind of like ended up on the side of the freedom fighters, where people should be able to choose what they want. They shouldn't be forced into having these shots and different things like that. So I discussed that a lot on my Instagram. Because we're going through one of the rougher times like in human history. And I feel like a lot of the challenges that I went through prepared me for this moment. More important than everything I went through is what I learned and how that can be shared. Because right now, on the largest scale, humanity, we're being attacked by an extreme narcissistic demonic energy. The people all over the planet. It's absolutely crazy. And so I discussed a lot of that. So yeah, you could learn a lot more. I'm not gonna hold y'all up, but just visiting my website. Everything's there. I built my website. I could teach you how to do that in the Platinum Partnership. Yep. And I'm still working. I'm still writing, still working on stuff. I got stuff out there. Hopefully turn into something.
Any movies? Any movie scripts? Any play scripts?
I did the rooftop script, and I did another script too for another guy. So those are only 2 works that are out there. So I was just paid to do the scripts. But with the rooftop one with Teddy Riley and them, since we all worked together since I was young, that was my first job. I worked for the record company there at the skating rink when I was young. Working with Teddy Riley and all these different people when I was a kid. If anything comes out of that, I'm sure I will get the proper credit. These are a different type of people. They're not into stealing credits, and they know what happened to me with Paid in Full. Yeah, and they're not very happy about it. So yeah, if something happens, definitely. I would love to work on my book one day. I would love to work on it. So sometimes it's a lot to go back down in that place. But if I ever did my book, that would be it. Because sometimes when you write a book about it, then you're expected to talk about it,
Absolutely, absolutely. And you may not be at the point where you want to do that, at least repetitively. Like, I really appreciate you stepping outside of everything that you have going on right now and doing this and reliving a few of those moments for us. I really, really appreciate that.
Miss T left. Tell her I said thank you. I'll talk to her. What's her name?
I sure will.
She left.
TT.
Oh no, I'm here. I'm just floored. I'm a little floored right now, but I'm here. You guys did an excellent job. I'm grateful to you.
Yeah. I'm trying to find the comments. Thank you. She contacted me. Like I said, I'd never had anyone contact me on that level, right? I never had anyone mad at me like they were my sister.
Yeah, she was going off.
Yeah, she was mad. And I even called a friend of mine who's like my spiritual, he consults me spiritually. And I called and he was like, wow, that's definitely amazing. So what are you gonna do? Because I was like, should I do it? So I said, yeah, I'm gonna do it. Because I like to handle it with tact, like I said earlier. That's why I said it needs to be a book, because
that's a real DC legend though right there. That's why I pinned that. I don't just pin anything. He said, tell her right for my movie. Tell her I was
Okay, well, email me. Tell me about it, Daryl. Yeah. So when she contacted me, I was shocked because people don't normally want to really know the truth. Because of what I do and who I am and the way I carry myself, people don't even seem sometimes any empathy for me. It's like people want you to be. The only time they feel empathy or may know that you are really hurt bad, like I can't even explain the levels I was hurt. Like you gotta look like it, you gotta be homeless outside, falling apart. Like you gotta be a junkie or something. But a lot of times women go through stuff and you would never know. You would never know what it took to overcome it. I feel so deeply for anyone who may be going through the shit I went through or that my mother went through. And if anyone is hitting their girlfriend or beating on them or anything like that, man, you really need to think about that, because you can destroy someone. Like I said, my mother lost her life at 28 and my stepmother at 34 because of my father. And sometimes I think that I had to, the karmatic experiences, what you do to others, and sometimes come down on your kids. There's so many variables. So I walked right into the mouth of a lion. So the point that I'm making here is I understand that different people have different traumas that they may have grew up under. But if you are being abusive to someone who loves you or who cares for you, who is being there, you should stop, because it's going to not only bring bad seeds to you, you're going to have to pay for it one day. Remember, when we die and we leave here, we leave behind a story. So like, what kind of story are you going to leave behind? What are people going to say about you? Right? So we have to get ourselves together emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. You should not be in relationships if you are an abuser. You don't even be in them. You know, you got to get yourself together, because sometimes we become abusers because our parents or somebody was like that to us. And so that's how we learned how to respond to our emotions. But it's wrong. It's wrong if you're a female and you're hating your man. It's wrong if you're a man and you're beating on your female. That shit is painful. You know, and some people don't make it. I did. Don't worry about me getting a little bit emotional. I'm fine. I'm good. But I just want to tell you that, because people be having a lot of fucking love in their heart, and people who destroy it. And thank you guys.
Well, again, like I said, my apologies from the melanated brothers out here, because everybody ain't like that. We apologize for what you went through. We're all moved by your story, and very, very happy that you chose to share it with us. Bless you, and I really appreciate. I hope nothing but success. And I got to say this again. I really, really appreciate your time.
Yes.
Because like you said, you don't do this for just anybody. And I really appreciate you coming out.
Yeah, I be saying no to these people. No. Yep, because of that angle. It's the angle. It's your angle that got me. It's the angle. Like, I'm a very genuine person. And if I sense that it's genuine, it's not phony, you know, it's not trying to take sides, or, you know, that shit that we do in the culture, I'll do it. I'll do it. So thank you. I was trying to see the comments before I left, but for whatever reason, they're not showing up. Oh, there they go. Sorry, guys. Oh, I didn't mean to get the little tears out. Nah, I am strong, y'all.
Oh, we know. It took a lot to get through what you've been through. If you move the tears, we ain't looking at you no different. The strength is still there. We can see the weights on your back. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, they so dope. Your audience here. Yeah, y'all can check me out on Instagram.
Make sure you hit all the links. Her stuff is posted in the description box. Her books, her Instagram, her Facebook, her website, all her information is where you can find it in the description box, as well as posted right across the screen. So, hey, if you got another device next to you, you can go follow her on Instagram right now, or follow her YouTube channel right now. Go do that shit right now. Stop playing.
You know what, somebody... I just want to shout out this person who said this comment right here. This is so profound, and then I'm out. But somebody said, gosh, where is it? When you don't, Miss Tate said, when you don't wear your pain, people think you don't have any. That's it. Love y'all.
Salute. I appreciate you.
Okay. Talk to you on the back end.
Love you too. Yep.
Mm-hmm.